you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would move that we suspend the House rules for the purposes of bringing Senate Bill 1433 directly to the floor of the House for immediate consideration.
Representative Reynolds, House Precedent 9.21 from 05 holds the custom of the House is for the majority floor leader to schedule new business for consideration on the House floor. Adoption of your motion would effectively schedule an item of new business without scheduling it with the majority floor leader. Also, House Precedent 9.25 from 2009 holds the custom of the House is for the majority floor leader to schedule the daily legislative business of the House. Adoption of your motion would effectively schedule an item of legislation without the approval of the majority floor leader, and as such, the motion would not be in order. Representative Terrell, for what purpose?
Please, as a procedural matter, just elaborate for, he is moving to suspend the rule. So as a procedural matter, explain to me why the motion to suspend the rule, which would otherwise make that schedule through the floor leader, applicable. He's not challenging the ruling of the chair. He's moving to suspend the rule.
Representative Terrell, it is the custom of the House to schedule new business or legislation through the floor leader, and so that's what we're operating on, is that is the custom of the House. Mr. Floor Leader. Representative Terrell, for what purpose?
Up until now, I'm not necessarily having a dog in this fight, but now I do. So my question is, if a rule suspension is to get around not having a bill brought to the floor, and yet we have to schedule that through the floor leader, you're creating a catch-22 whereby you could never get a bill brought to the floor through a rule suspension. Forget this bill for a second, but you could never get a bill brought to the floor. How does that work exactly?
You're correct. That is the custom of the House that the floor leader schedules those bills for hearings. So you're correct in your statement that is the way.
So I want to be clear. So you're making new precedent today, which you guys ought to be worried about over there. You're making new precedent today that there is no way to suspend the rules to bring any order of business at all to immediate consideration on the floor. Is that correct?
No, we're not making new precedent. We're relying on old precedent, which I cited from 2005 and 2009. You're recognized.
I'm sorry, I understand that. I've read 9.2, or the 9.2, 1, and 5. I've read them both. And it says that the floor leader gets to schedule the order of business. But the impact that the effect of your ruling is to effectively prevent any item, a rule suspension, to bring any new item to the floor immediately. Correct? True or false?
That is the custom of the House, yes. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the rule that you're citing, if you could, about scheduling through the floor leader, would you please tell me which rule number that is?
Representative Reynolds, we've answered that question already. It is the custom of the House that business be scheduled to the floor leader. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I'm asking is, the House is governed by rules. There must be a rule cited here, because at that point, if you can't cite a rule, it makes it impossible for me to ask to suspend that rule. So, Mr. Speaker, I guess the motion that you would have me make is I should suspend the custom of the House. Now, that would be ridiculous in any legislative body. So can you please tell me there must be a rule that cedes authority of this body to the particular custom that you're ceding, and that's the rule I'm going to move to suspend. So please tell me what rule it is that I would need to suspend, if you could, or just simply say, there's no rule, we're just not going to do it that way.
Representative Reynolds, we're relying on the custom of the House, and we've answered that question. One more question, Representative Terrell.
One more question. I'm going to get mad enough that we're going to move to appeal the ruling of the chair. The question is, at what point is it in order? I'm merely asking a procedural question. I don't have a dog in the hunt on the bill. My question is, he's asking the floor leader to schedule it. If the floor leader does not schedule him to make the motion, I'm asking, is a suspension of the rules in order at any point after the fact? I know you've already addressed before the fact. I'm asking after the fact.
House entities. Come to order. Representative Terrell, thank you for your question. If a member wants to make a proper motion, yes, the floor leader is obligated to recognize that member the day of, prior to adjournment, for that motion. The scheduling of new legislation would not be a proper motion for the long-established customs and precedents of the House. Mr. Floor Leader. Representative Reynolds, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of protecting all the members in the House of Representatives, because this won't lead necessarily to a suspension of the rules and a vote on the personhood bill, but it will lead to the ability of the House members to express themselves freely in this room, I respectfully request that we, I'm objecting to the ruling of the chair and would like to override a ruling of the chair.
Are you asking for an appeal, Representative Reynolds? That requires 15 standing seconds. Chair does not see 15 standing seconds.